Good morning, folks. Thank you for joining. My name is Kevin Jackson from InterMapper, and today we will be talking about the impact of IPv6 on network management. So our agenda today is we'll talk about what IPv6 is, what does it mean to the end user. We'll go over a couple of benefits of IPv6, figure out where we fit in, and how we can prepare for IPv6 in the future. We'll look at a couple of businesses, top 50 businesses out there that has currently been supporting IPv6 for a while now. And then we'll see how InterMapper can help you with that transition, and then we'll go over some questions. So in order for us to know what IPv6 is, we want to know what the issue is, what the problem is. So the current problem we're having is the current Internet protocol, IPv4, is currently running out of IP addresses. So there is a considerable amount of IP exhaustion on the IPv4 platform. So IPv6, as you may or may not know what IPv6 is, it's the next generation network protocol that will allow us for data communication over a packet switch network. So in other words, what this protocol does is, as well as the IPv4 protocol as well, it's involved in sending and receiving of data packets between two or more nodes in, on, or around the network. So as you can see here, this is an example of the full valid IPv6 address. This is the IP address in its entirety, and this is also the IP address that's been truncated. So these zeros are kind of like placeholders, so you can still effectively use the IP address with the truncated connotation here. So although the IPv6 has not been widely adapted and fully deployed, the protocol has been around for a long time. It's been around since 1998. So it's been developed by the Internet Engineering Task Force in 1998 to replace the widely used Internet Protocol version 4. So the nice thing is the Internet Engineering Task Force had the foresight to see that there would be an increased demand of devices connected to the Internet. So not just in the business environment, but also emphatically in a home user base as well. So enter IPv6. So this is the next generation in terms of Internet protocol, which will allow for an increased amount of address to support the demand, the increased demand of the devices being kind of connected to the Internet. So that kind of goes into my next point is this address was created because of the growth, the Internet's growing user base. If you look around today, almost everyone has a device capable of accessing the Internet. So as our population continues to grow, so will the need to always be connected to the Internet as well. So what does this mean for the end user? So it used to be that when you signed up for Internet, your ISP would give you a single IP address, and if you wanted more IPs, more external IPs, you would have to actually pay additional costs to get those additional blocks of IP. So now the home users are able to get blocks of addresses that's sufficient enough to basically support any number of networks and tens and thousands of devices if they choose. You know, you go into any home, you know, there's a laptop, a desktop, there's an iPad, an iPhone, there's Android devices, a lot of mobile devices, there's TVs, there's a lot of devices that are IP-based running at the home user's convenience. So again, being able to actually get enough addresses to sufficiently support all these devices, I think is a very good thing for the IPv6 addressing. Better support for the increase of always-on technologies. Again, always-on technologies means, you know, devices that are always connected to the Internet. So, you know, we always want to be connected. We always want to have that access. So, being able to go back and forth and switching between different networks and being able to access the Internet wherever we are, I think is another positive for the end user, something that we use all the time. Enterprises and small business will generally be given enough to support a substantial amount of networks. So again, depending on the size and scope of your network, you are able to get as many IP addresses as your network can support, and you have the ability to scale up. So again, this is a significant impact on the end user, because now you can no longer need to basically pay additional fees to get those external IPs. You'll get that block of external IPs or IP addresses in general that will be able to support your current infrastructure and allow you to scale up and add as many devices as you want to your current infrastructure. So if you look at these two graphs, it shows here that in green, the United States has already been adapting to the new IPv6 kind of scheme and slowly transitioning a lot of their applications and services to the IPv6 format. So as you can see, there's other countries kind of following suit around the world. Currently, the USA, Canada, Japan, China, France, Korea all have engaged in moving towards a full IPv6 deployment. But just like any new technology, there are some hiccups, there are some bumps in the roads. As you can see, there's been some latency issues with the deployment. So again, there will always be some additional issues and bumps in the road as we adapt to new technology. The transition and the progression of IPv6 is inevitable, so we need to kind of be prepared for it and understand that this is something that we have to do eventually. So again, there will be bumps in the road, there will be issues, but we need to work through the issues and make sure that we have the necessary steps in place so we can kind of move forward. So what are the benefits of IPv6? First and foremost, the primary benefit of moving to the IPv6, the version 6 protocol, is a larger address space. Something like 340 trillion plus addresses. I think that means that we'll be okay for a while. So no more need to buy black market IPs. Again, you have enough IP addresses that will last you a lifetime. Efficient backbone routing. So I think where we will start to see the immediate impact is going to be in the VoIP and video conferencing space. Providers will be able to provide better service, so your quality of service will be a lot better. Call quality will be much improved. Things like peer-to-peer technology like Skype connections will be much better. So again, that's the space I think you'll see the biggest benefit. It's said that since inception, Skype has now registered over 200 million people using the product. So that means that there's a lot of growth potential with products like peer-to-peer technology, and it will increase that growth with the addition of the IPv6 network. So again, VoIP video conferencing will probably see a really good spike in improvement in terms of call quality and just connection quality. Auto configuration. So this has been kind of a hotly debated topic. It's more basically a debate over more versus less. So in terms of stateful, so stateful configuration is very similar to how existing DHCP works. So the version 6 will always have a DHCP version 6 protocol to support the administration of the device's information over a network. So I think this will take some time for network admins to start to loosen the reins a little bit to save some network management time. But think about it, when you have to do upgrades or cutovers, moving the DHCP scopes over to a new network is part of the process. So in this kind of state, you have to plan and you have to make sure you have the right scopes moved over to make sure that the devices will work properly. So again, you might have a scope for your voice. You might have a scope for your servers. You might have a scope for your workstations, printers, etc. So you have to make sure that those scopes are moved over prior to or during that migration and upgrade process. So again, there's a little bit of work, a little bit of planning and administration that's needed with a stateful configuration. But stateless, which is where this version 6 is kind of headed, the IPv6 devices can independently auto-configure themselves to connect to any other IPv6 devices. So this kind of will replace the need for DHCP plug and play, as you will. So this is very important with all these mobile devices being connected to the network. Being able to handle the transition seamlessly, I think it'll be a really important function for our network administrator. So again, alleviating a lot of the management capabilities and the administration that you will need day to day, I think, is where this version 6 protocol is headed. So again, no more IP conflicts. You don't have to worry about IP conflicts. You don't have to worry about NATing because you have, a large amount of address space. So, you don't have to worry about the configuration of NATing and putting things, having these multiple subnets and networks kind of running internally. These are the things that are going to make your life a lot simpler and make network administration much more manageable. Reduce the complexity in the IP header. So what this means is currently the IP header format has a lot of different kind of modules or data associated with it. So it makes the connection process a little tedious, and it takes a little bit longer in terms of the connection rate. So what the version 6 protocol wants to do is it wants to reduce by chopping off some of these additional sources on the IP header, and then what in turn does it improves the connection rate and reduces the amount of fields that you need. So again, the idea is to try to make this connection rate as fast as possible, try to maximize the amount of information that's being sent, so making it more functional and efficient is what this version 6 protocol is trying to do. Improvement in handling security protocols. So again, very important. IPv6 by default will pretty much force administrators to pay very close attention to security. So the IPsec protocol is part of the framework of the IPv6 protocol. So it'll support IPsec and secure communications. It'll support various degrees of encryption, so data encryption standards or key exchanges it'll support. So this is not necessarily a replacement for current security policies and current security measures. You still have to improve on your security. You still have to kind of bolt on additional security products. It's not going to replace a firewall. You still need a firewall to protect your overall infrastructure. So again, what this is doing is this is going to allow for increased security protocols built into this protocol. So again, a very good benefit there. Mobility. So there's a mobile IPv version 6 kind of application, and what this does is this allows for moving from one network to another while maintaining the existing connection. So if you want to look at it in layman's terms, think about it as a roaming, like a roaming profile. It allows for roaming capabilities of mobile nodes. So in any IPv6 network, that device can kind of move back and forth between different networks while maintaining that connection. So again, seamless transition from one network to the other, always connected to some kind of IPv6 network. So it's a very, very important benefit, especially on the end user, the wireless providers, the wireless users. I think you'll see the most benefit there. How do we prepare for it? So again, the first and foremost thing you want to do to prepare for the IPv6 transition is you want to have an audit of your current IPv6 capabilities and readiness. And what that means is, you take a look at your infrastructure holistically. You take a look at your staff and make sure that they are prepared, they understand what it means and what it takes to move to that next level, that next protocol. You want to also determine which of your service will lose business if only version 6 is accessible, and make sure that conversion is a priority. So what that means, you take a look at your core infrastructure, your applications, your web servers. If you have critical applications like accounting information, you want to make sure that those providers can support IPv6. They can access IPv6. You can access their IPv6 products. So that's the first priority. Key components of your infrastructure has to be addressed and looked at. Remove or upgrade items that might impede the conversion process, like legacy systems. So there will always be some older systems in place that currently folks like to use that might not support the current version of the protocol. So these have to be kind of considered. Do you want to upgrade these legacy systems to the latest? Go through that conversion process. Obviously, there's a cost associated with that. So again, if these products are independent of the IPv6 network, you might get away with being able to run them simultaneously. But if there's any kind of connection between a version 4 and version 6 network, the best bet is to make sure you upgrade those systems to match. In terms of trying to make sure that there's there's cohesion there, and there's no issues in terms of connectivity. You want to make sure that the systems are running on the same protocol. Contact vendors to find out about IPv6 support in their current and future releases, especially your ISP. So again, very important. I think most importantly is you want to make sure that your ISP supports the current version. That's the most important thing. And then if they don't, you want to make sure that they have future releases or they have support for it, in place. You want to make sure that you are not left out with a vendor that's not kind of up to speed. So it's very important that you do the audit. Then you want to determine which one of your core services, your critical services, will need to be accessible. You want to get rid of those legacy systems on your infrastructure that might not support the current version and get those up to speed. And then make sure once you figure out your vendors, you contact those vendors and find out what their plan is. So if you take a look at your kind of environment holistically, I think most importantly there's a few things that you want to make sure that you address first. Any kind of web-facing application. A lot of folks have websites that customers have to log into and access for information. So web-facing front-end services is something that you want to take a look at. Email servers you want to take a look at. Email servers, obviously, you want to be able to send and receive to those who support IPv6. So it's very important that you make sure that those services are converted. Again, if there's applications that are outward-facing and you need customers to support those or customers who need to connect to those, you want to be able to make sure that they have the correct support and accessibility to that infrastructure. So very important that you take a look at your infrastructure holistically and figure out which ones are the most critical and which ones need to be accessed using version 6. The next couple of slides, actually go back to this previous slide, just to mention InterMapper, our current monitoring solution here, can currently support IP version 6. So as you can see, this diagram shows that we're monitoring a device using IPv6 version 6 addressing. So again, another thing that you want to take into consideration is my monitoring software, my management software capable of managing and monitoring both the version 6 and the version 4 devices. And what we can do is here in InterMapper we can monitor both version 6 and version 4 simultaneously on the same map if need be. So again, you want to make sure that you have the infrastructure in place to support that transition as well. The next couple of slides are just a couple of, as I mentioned, top companies who have already kind of transitioned some of their services to support version 6. Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Yahoo are some of those top companies who have already converted their web services, their outward-facing services to support IPv6 addressing. So if you have, IPv6 currently running, you're able to access their web services. Couple of ISPs. I'm sure a lot of the ISPs are kind of jumping on the ship and will need to have support for this version, either now or very soon. AT&T and Time Warner are two of a few that currently have full support for their customers. So if a customer seeks and wants to use the IPv6 addressing, those can be provided by those providers. Hardware vendors, very important. So, Cisco and Sony have already outfitted their hardware to support the new addressing. So again, what you want to do is not just the software. You want to take a look at your hardware as well and make sure the hardware can support that addressing. A lot of the hardware comes with operating systems built in. Like, Cisco has their own proprietary OS, so you want to make sure that their OS has the ability to support version 6 as well. Server hardware also. That comes built into the BIOS, that it can support the IPv4 and IPv6 as well. Some OS can actually support dual configuration, which is great. So it'll pick up whichever network it sees. So that's a nice function as well. So how InterMapper can help with the transition. So what InterMapper can do is, we can auto-discovery feature. With the auto-discovery feature, we can basically discover all your devices on the network. That includes version 4 and version 6 addressing. So, if you're looking to monitor your network, you can basically use InterMapper software to monitor the network, identify your devices on your network, and show you exactly what's going on with those devices. We provide you with the ability to visually show you the status, display the status, show exactly what's going on with that device, show the state of the device, the behavior of that device, and give you that gradual progression. If the device is going into some kind of alarm or critical state, you can see that gradual progression. So again, nice way to visually see the representation of your devices. Exception-based alerting and notifications to keep you informed. What we can do is we provide you with the ability to alert on specific thresholds that you provide and you set in any kind of way. We have a very diverse set of notification components that you can use to be alerted. And then you can get very granular in terms of the insights and the information that you want to capture from a specific device. So, our product can scale. We can scale thousands of network devices, so it really depends on what you want to monitor. But again, you need a really good monitoring solution in place that can help you with that transition. So again, if you have IPv6 enabled devices currently running and are looking to monitor those devices, please take advantage of our free trial software. See how InterMapper can help you in your day-to-day. So you want to be sure that you have everything prior to, during, and then after you fully transitioned over to version 6. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day. I appreciate your time.